This is episode 29 of Entrepreneurs for a Change. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to our mailing list at entrepreneursforachange.com. Are you ready to be the change? If so, you've come to the right place. You're about to join a movement of entrepreneurs who are empowering people, saving the planet, and turning their passion into profits while creating the lifestyle of their dreams. If you don't believe us, check out our website at entrepreneursforachange.com, a place where you can be inspired, mentored, and supported by a tribe of change-making entrepreneurs just like you. Hello, beautiful change makers. This is Lorna Lee, host of yet another episode of Entrepreneurs for a Change, a web show about evolutionary entrepreneurs who are changing the world, making an impact, and designing businesses that allow them to live life on their own terms. This episode is dedicated to all you women entrepreneurs out there who are ready to claim your feminine power and, with fierce confidence, offer your best gifts to the world. I have a really juicy guest with me today, Alia Melissa Hall, a visionary entrepreneur, master coach, and liberator for Feminine Luminaries In-the-Making like you. A graduate of Brown University, Alia was a marketing executive for top brands and companies including Saatchi Saatchi, Delta Airlines, Procter Gamble, and Visa. In spite of her successes building big brands, she still felt small, unseen, disconnected, and unsatisfied in her role as a corporate marketer. During this time, she weathered a series of devastating emotional blows that prompted her to question her life. A part of her recognized that she was here on this planet to serve a greater purpose than to work in a dissatisfying job as an unrecognized cog in the wheel, helping large companies grow richer. With courage and blind faith, she left that world behind to seek fulfillment on her own terms and reclaim her life. What she discovered was the power of designing her own business and lifestyle in alignment with her true brilliance, happiness, and fulfillment. Over the last 12 years, Alia engaged in advanced, creative, and transformational training to emerge as a cutting-edge DJ and music producer, as well as a master success coach helping other women with creative fire liberate their unique brilliance in their art and businesses to boldly share their gifts with the world. She's been a featured TEDx presenter and was named a leader shifting the planet by Origin magazine. Alia's mission is to unleash the next generation of trailblazing, creative, entrepreneurial women leaders to help build a thriving planet. In this juicy conversation, we discuss the unique feminine gifts we possess as women and how to embrace them in business, the difference between masculine and feminine power, the most disempowering thing women entrepreneurs do to themselves, whether or not you need coaching certification to be a coach, ways you can establish trust with your target audience by sharing your story online, why listening is the most important quality you need to develop as a coach or consultant, how to get started as a coach and attract your first clients, the best way to offer discovery calls so that your prospects are compelled to work with you, why you really need to invest in the right business training. If you'd like to experience a taste of Alia's musical style, I've included some of my favorite tracks from her SoundCloud profile in our show notes. You can find these, plus people, resources, and tools mentioned in the interview at entrepreneursforachange.com/29. Now, before diving into the interview, I want to encourage you to rate, review, and download Entrepreneurs for a Change on iTunes. This really helps us reach more people with inspiring stories of entrepreneurs who are changing the world. Also, if these stories inspire you to start a world-changing business of your own, head over to our website at entrepreneursforachange.com and download the Business Changemakers Toolkit to get a jumpstart today. Now on to the show. Okay, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I'm so glad to be able to speak to you about the work that you do, helping women get in touch with their feminine power in business. And also, I love the music that you create as well in your role as a DJ. So if you could explain to us who you are and what your business is all about, and share with us a story about how you got to this stage in your entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be on this conversation with you. Thanks for having me. My name is Alia Hall, and I am a combination of entrepreneur and artist. And my entrepreneurial journey started out more as an entrepreneur and as a coach specifically. And I created my business Femvolution about 5 years ago to really target women specifically and to really help and support women to step more into their particular flavor of genius, their particular unique essence, and then bring that into their business endeavors and their creative endeavors. And that's been evolving over the last few years as I've been evolving, as our businesses do. They tend to evolve with us as we grow and our messages shift and change. And as I've been stepping more into my artistic self and more of my identity as an artist in the world, as a music producer and as an electronic dance music DJ, I've been noticing a desire to bring the two things together a little more. And so I've been marrying those in the coaching programs and various offerings that I am sharing with people in the one-on-one coaching work that I do with people, and bringing more creativity to the way that I create my programs, and also creating programs around the topic of creativity and artistry, creating programs that are really supportive of those entrepreneurs who are wanting to step out into a different, more creative version of themselves, kind of step out of the typical model and access more of themselves and bring more of themselves into what they're creating. And it's been a really interesting, beautiful marriage as I've been kind of working these two pieces.
Were you a DJ before you became a business coach?
I was a coach before I started DJing. I've been coaching for over a decade and more full-time for the last 6 to 7 years, and DJing more so in the last 4 years. And so I've been on my own internal creative journey around all of this, and the DJing and the music producing has been unfolding really gracefully in a really fun way for me. And I've been just following it and then growing fairly rapidly. And so I've also been designing my life and my business to support that. So which has encouraged some shifts and changes in the way that I'm doing my business and creating things.
Do you find that your creative endeavors as a musician and a DJ support your work as an entrepreneur?
Yes, I do. I feel that they're very connected and related. I believe that as an artist, when we're trying to grow ourselves as professional artists, it's very important that we approach it almost like a business. And then vice versa, I think it's really important to approach our businesses and our entrepreneurial endeavors with the mindset of an artist. And so I found the two to be very complementary.
Wow. Do you tend to work mostly with other women creatives then as a business coach? Or do you work with a wide range of business women?
I have noticed that the women that are attracted to working with me do tend to be a little more creative. They may be building businesses, but they want to do it in a slightly more creative way. Or they are artists on the side as well in some way. And so they have an artistic sensibility, and they want to bring that artistry into what they're creating. They want to create something unique and new and different.
What inspired you to enter the path of business coaching many years ago? Did you have an aha moment that led you to want to become a business coach, and a moment of inspiration that caused you to create the business that you have now under Femvolution?
When I started coaching, I was more into personal development at that time, and my coaching was more life coaching to begin with. I was leading a variety of courses and was really doing a deep dive into personal transformation work. And then as I stepped into creating my coaching business full time, I realized that I needed to have more entrepreneurial business skills. So I started doing a bunch of training in that area specifically, and then began to also bring back in some of my former experience and my former life as a corporate marketing executive. And I began to then bring my branding expertise and my knowledge of building, a smaller entrepreneurial solo business to my work that I was doing with people. And it evolved and morphed over time into more business-focused coaching.
So when you began your coaching career, did you pursue any type of coaching certification? And does one actually need to become a certified coach in a particular modality in order to be a life coach to somebody else? I think that's one of the biggest questions that I see arise in the coaching community, whether or not you need some kind of certification credentials to even begin doing the work of coaching somebody else.
Yes, that is a big question that people will often examine closely when they're stepping into this. I definitely looked at that. I explored a number of the coaching and training institutions. And what I found was that I felt that the training that I would get there was actually, it felt in a way kind of almost less rigorous than the coaching training I'd already received in a number of the organizations that I had been training with. And I was encouraged by a number of other professional coaches who didn't have certifications to go ahead and just step into coaching with that knowledge, with that training already under my belt, without needing that certification. And honestly, I've found that no one asks about whether or not I'm certified. And the majority of people that come to me, it's not even on their radar. It's not something that they're concerned about. I think in maybe slightly more corporate environments, if a coach is wanting to go in and work with, or, consultants perhaps want to work with companies, I think that's the group of people that might find a certification more important. But on a person-to-person level, most people just want to know that you can help solve their problem for them. They just want to feel that confidence and trust in you that you can get them to where they want to go.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of these coaching programs are really expensive. They're an investment of several $1,000s. And I do wonder whether or not that training is actually going to really move the needle in how you can serve other people, especially if you already have a core body of expertise that you can leverage to help somebody else.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, they are a very expensive investment. And I think what I've been seeing is that there's a whole group of entrepreneurs and coaches that I'm friendly with and who are some big names in the industry now, who have just been really taking that body of work, taking that training in their particular area, and taking their life experience and really bringing that to how they're coaching people. And then, designing a particular area of focus around that specific experience.
So how do you inspire trust in the people that you work with or your prospective clients to give them the sense that you can solve their problem? So help us understand what kind of issues or obstacles you tend to work with your clients on resolving or overcoming, and how is it that they feel that you are the person that can help them. So I think, this question, what I'd like to bring to light through this question is how people who are in the coaching industry can showcase their knowledge and build the trust so that people, their prospective clients will be attracted to work with them, and they will be able to continue to serve the clients that they do have on an ongoing basis.
Yes. There's a couple of major areas to look at with this. One is positioning yourself with a particular area of expertise. And so that has to do with how you're sharing yourself in your marketing, how you're speaking to your audience, the particular topics that you choose to focus on, the ways that you address particular problems in your blog posts or in your social media posts or things like that. There's also the way that you model what it is that you're supporting people around, what you're helping people with. If you yourself are really living that, if you're modeling that, then people will also see, oh, she's got what I want. She's living it now. I hear that all the time from people that come to me. They always say like, oh, it's very evident that you have the kind of creative life that I'm really longing for. And so you can't underestimate the power of just creating your visibility is one powerful way of doing that, of sharing yourself on social media, allowing yourself to be seen, telling your story, finding ways to share your knowledge and wisdom through articles or being interviewed and, podcasts like this, and helping people really get a taste of who you are. And then when they do actually come to you and you have the opportunity to have a conversation with them, an initial consultation of some kind, that's the opportunity to really just practice really listening to them, really being with them, helping them experience you as a trustworthy person that really is going to be a solid ally for them. And that's the kind of thing just that comes with practice, that comes with time and experience of working with different people. The more and more you gain facility with just simply being with people with where they are, the more that they'll be able to develop that trust in you. And in many ways, a lot of coaches will have told me over the years, a number of my mentors, they'll say, that you could coach on anything, really. And you can coach people to get to where they want to go, as long as you're very that you can be with them where they are. And I think that's really powerful advice. I think a lot of would-be coaches or people starting up can get tripped up on not having enough experience or not having maybe they want to change areas of focus or something, and they're worried that maybe they don't have enough experience in the new area. The reality is that coaching is really about your ability to be with someone and to hold the vision of where they want to go in a really powerful way. And when you develop those skills, those kinds of ways of supporting people, you'll be able to support people no matter what kind of goal they have.
So when you look back at your career, and especially around the time when you just started coaching, how were you able to attract your first clients? I think for a lot of people that look towards becoming a business or a life coach in some way, or even, starting some kind of service-based consultancy, there's a threshold of difficulty. It might be fear of where to go and get the first clients that they work with. So what was your experience like, and what would you recommend for people who are just starting out?
Absolutely. I experienced that fear too. And I definitely struggled at the beginning. I think most of us have at some point. And what I would offer is that the best way to first go out and get your first clients is to just start with the people that start with your network. Just start asking around, who do you know that is this person, this type of person, who might want this kind of support. You get really clear on the kind of person that you want to help, who your ideal client is, and then just start sharing it with the people that you know. Just say, hey, I'm starting to coach and this is the kind of person I'm looking for. Who do you know that might be a good match? And just begin to just set up free conversations with those people. That I often resisted this advice, to tell you the truth, but I believe it is very true. Most of my mentors would say to me, don't worry about a website, don't worry about having the right business cards. Don't worry about any of that. Just, you can go out and get clients without any of that. It's all about the face-to-face, the, interpersonal connections. And so that is the way to at least begin. I then do believe that then as you grow and develop, people will want to be able to learn about you online. And then it is important to have a website up and all of those things. But, frankly, I'm always struggling to keep up with my website and everything new that's developing. And it never seems to matter that much, because people, word of mouth starts to develop. People start to know you as the person that they should send that person with that problem to. And that's how it grows, and it grows in momentum.
That's so interesting, because I do see coaches who are hugely successful, who are generating multiple six-figure incomes on really crappy websites, really crappy free websites. So, it's almost a bit overrated as to how much of a web presence you actually need to develop. So you recommend for people just starting out to give give some free consultations to the people in their network to start off with? Is that a startup strategy that you would recommend?
It's a well-worn startup strategy for sure. There are some people out there who would say, no, you should really charge for each session. You don't want to give them a whole bunch of time, but like half-hour initial conversations, you position it as just an exploratory conversation and not a coaching session. That's the difference.
Okay.
Like the difference is you just don't want to give a bunch of free coaching up front, because then people will be like, great, thanks for the free coaching. Now I'm going to move on. You want to be very clear that the intention of that conversation will be to explore whether or not you will work together. But yes, offering that free time to people is a great way to help them get a taste.
Is there any formula that you recommend on how to conduct those discovery conversations so that it leads to a working relationship? Because I've seen a few offers cross my radar from different people about the specific way that one should direct the 30-minute conversation. And I'm wondering whether or not you've followed any formula, quote unquote, that helps you, I guess, establish a good relationship so that you're not giving away so much information that they're full and they feel like, oh, I've got so much to work with now, thanks, bye. But they're actually inspired to work with you on an ongoing basis, because the truth is you can give a lot of value within those 30 minutes, but chances are the person who's receiving that value isn't going to be able to solve their problem just because they had a 30-minute free call with you. They're going to need to work on an ongoing basis over the period of weeks and months to be able to get over the obstacle that they're facing.
That's right. Absolutely. Yes. Well, I've had a couple of great teachers show me their process for those conversations, which is lengthier than there's probably time to go into here. But the highlights are that you want to first, open the conversation with just asking people what they want, really help them get present to what it is that they want for their life, what their desires are, what they're stepping into, and then help them get present to the impact of not having that and really looking at what's been in the way of that, and then help them get present to what it would feel like to have that, and really giving people a visceral experience of what it's like to actually be living that and experiencing that for real. And then, saying, well, are you ready to have that? In essence, and are you ready to do that now? And then invite them to step into doing that now with support from you. And there's some great questions and kind of graceful transitions and ways that you can do that. And over time, I've just really made it my own. I have had enough of these now where I can really drop into my intuitive experience with them, just, really listen, feedback what they're saying, and then say, and invite them into the possibility of being able to really have that now or soon.
Do you mind sharing who you have received mentorship around this process? For example, I know that Bill Barron teaches something like this. I've heard really great things about his programs. Who else might be able to be a resource for our audience to check out around this discovery call process? Because it's very powerful when you get it right.
Yes, it is. Yes. I've heard great things about Bill. I haven't worked with him yet. I trained with Brian Franklin, and he's fantastic. He and his partner, Jennifer Russell, do programs for entrepreneurs. And I also did some training with Matthew Blom, who is also equally fantastic and has just a slightly different take on the conversation.
How do you spell Matthew's last name?
Blom.
Okay, awesome. We're going to include links to their websites in the show notes.
Great.
So in the process of defining ideal clients, who would you describe as your ideal client?
That has changed and evolved. And now my ideal client is a woman who has already experienced some success with her endeavors, and she is still feeling some dissatisfaction, some sense of wanting to bring out more of herself into what she's creating. She is interested in really stepping up her game, really interested in creating something of impact. It's likely creating art or a movement or a message of some kind. And she is really interested in investing in a deeper level of transformation than maybe she has invested in thus far. And was really interested in working with someone one-on-one in a very close, kind of tailored way. My programs now, I'm mostly exclusively working one-on-one and working just with a select group of women, and I'm really tailoring and kind of customizing and curating a particular experience for them, both with my own coaching and then also bringing in other practitioners and people who I've worked with who I can highly recommend their services and who can specifically address a particular area that they most want to work on. So I've been enjoying actually expanding into a little more of a, an inclusionary paradigm and model where I can bring in some of the amazing people that I know who are great at what they do.
I'd love for you to share with our audience how we can understand the ability to create a thriving business from serving a need that seems a bit nebulous and almost difficult to define. So for example, if you think about really cut and dry business needs, like I need a website, so therefore, you've got web design, web agency services, or I need an AdWords consultant or display marketing agency. I mean, those are pretty straightforward services that solve a particular business need. But to have a business need that is really a reflection of a desire to connect with your divine feminine essence and bring out your feminine gifts to the world in a more powerful and positive way. That seems rather difficult to define, yet people seem to be hungry for it and willing to pay for it. So can you help us understand how that works and how you were able to identify this very particular market of women entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it is nebulous in a way. And like you said, people are hungry for it. There is a real desire. And I think that's because so many women out there have been feeling disconnected from that part of themselves. And I know, you and I both, Lorna, have shared, we have a shared history of working in more corporate environments and, feeling cut off from our femininity there and feeling like we had to become men in that environment to excel and succeed. And I think there's a way that a lot of women are experiencing that, have experienced that, are moving towards wanting to connect with and embrace their feminine essence in a way that really serves their current creations. So there is a big movement in the women entrepreneur space around creating a more business from your intuition, or creating a business that is more balanced, creating a business where you are tapped into your pleasure and more of your joy. And, all of these things are becoming really, really important to women, and they're wanting to create in a new way, in a new paradigm. And I think that's because both for their own personal fulfillments, they're both in their sense of, quality of life that they want to have now, they want to claim for themselves. And also because there's a movement towards really modeling this new way for other people out in the world and for other women around the globe. I know, for me, that's been a big mission and impulse, underneath Femvolution, my brand. And part of what I'm actually starting to do now with my messaging on social media, and I'm sharing a lot of things that I'm hoping are going to reach women around the planet who maybe aren't necessarily as privileged as we are, or don't have the same opportunities, or don't have the same knowledge and understanding around this stuff. And whether it's Western women or women in other parts of the world, it's still a major theme and a major movement. And so women are hungry. They are willing to pay for this kind of support. And I think they're willing to, pay for it also, though, with a combination of tangible services. Certainly with what I do, I am also supporting women around the development and creation of their business in a tangible way, around developing their offerings, around their branding and how they approach that. So I think it's powerful when the two are combined and the messaging can be really, connected in a way that has them feel like they're still going to get a result.
Yeah, it's so interesting the way the business world is. And I'd love to explore the concept of what masculine power and what feminine power looks like. So what I can say is when I was in the corporate world, I felt like I had to really compete in a man's world and become one of the guys. And a lot of the characteristics around becoming successful in that environment, it really involved a lot of competition as opposed to collaboration. It was a lot of like one-upsmanship and, blowing one's own horn because, in a corporate environment, especially if you work in a large company, nobody knows what you do. So unless you are broadcasting all the great things you're doing, then nobody knows what you do. So felt a bit weird for me to be in a position where my promotion, my ability to be promoted, my success depended on how well I marketed myself in the company. And gosh, I felt like in adopting that type of behavior, I lost a sense of what it meant for me to be female, to be feminine. I developed a really hard, competitive, bottom line edge that I assumed as armor and wore on a daily basis. That really got in the way of me getting into relationships as well, because I was no longer very feminine. So I'd love to understand, from what you have discovered working with female entrepreneurs, what some of the biggest challenges are for women in business, and what some of the qualities of feminine power actually are, and how that looks in a female-led business.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that piece. And yes, I resonate so much with that. I think so many women do, that we get cut off from ourselves as a woman and we start really losing touch with that. I know that was true for me. And I feel it was directly related to the ways that I was at that time that I was in my great career. It was an amazing career. I had so many amazing opportunities working with big companies and big brands, right? But I was kind of dying on the inside. I was really disconnected from myself and I was kind of depressed at times, and I was having, physical ailments start to show up. And there's lots of ways that these things will kind of show up surreptitiously without us even realizing what the root cause is. And I think this has been happening for a lot of women. And then when we kind of disconnect from those things that are disempowering for us, we begin to step into more of our empowerment, start to reconnect with our feminine part. Those kinds of ailments and problems seem to start to shift. So I think women in business today are facing some major challenges around how to still be themselves, how to still be a woman, how to still bring their unique talent as a woman into the marketplace.
And not have it be a liability. Right?
Yes, right.
To not be dismissed or not taken seriously because you happen to be more nurturing in your approach to management than domineering.
That's right. That's right. Like, how do they do that? Because the alternative is potentially being so disconnected from themselves that then it starts to show up in all kinds of other areas of their lives, like their relationships, right? And romantic relationships being troubled, or their bodies manifesting ailments and all these kinds of things. They're so common, or eating disorders or whatever they may be. And so I think that's going to be the key thing. And also kind of re-educating men to be respectful and honoring of what those unique feminine talents are, and inviting partnership with men rather than a sense of competition. I do think that there's a ways to go with that, and it's tricky. And that's why so many women are kind of like leaving the corporate world in droves and trying to create something on their own.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I've noticed in the recent years is that in spite of women's lib, women today seem almost less happy than they were back in the 50s. So, this pressure to succeed in the man's world, for example, has really taken a toll on a lot of us. So even though we've had equal rights, at the same time, gender roles have been confused, and so it seems like men have been relieved of the role and expectation of being the provider. So I see women who are just exhausted in their roles of being their primary caregiver for their children, having to take care of the home, and on top of that, manage and grow their careers. At the same time, they seem to be receiving less support from the men in their lives. Chivalry is a dying practice, and we still don't receive equal pay for the work that we do. So, a beautiful friend of mine, Brazilian woman who is a super smart career professional, well, she had a kid, and, she basically said to me, Lorna, even though her partner was showing up to be involved in the care of her newborn, daughter, she was like, Lorna, even with the support of my husband, at the same time, as a mother, you are still the primary caregiver because you're the one with the milk. So, it seems to be like there's no way around it. No matter how much our men might really want to support us in, motherhood, for example, we're still the ones with the milk. And so we're still the ones who are going to be primarily responsible for taking care of young children. So it almost seems like if motherhood and being a success in your industry is important to you, then for many women in the professional business world, it's almost like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about that and what you've been observing around women who are entering the path of entrepreneurship and taking back their power from this disempowering paradigm that we found ourselves in.
Yes, I see that a lot of women have felt disempowered by this, and it's definitely disheartening that in this day and age, with everything that we know, that women are still being paid less than men. And as you say, they still have a lot of responsibility and more than they ever did in many ways. So it's disheartening for sure. And I think that's what is having a lot of women decide that they want to step out and create something on their own terms. Because the path of entrepreneurship enables you to do that. It enables you to design something that actually fits with your life. And this is what a lot of women are in the conversation around. Like, how can they create a business that is personally fulfilling, spiritually fulfilling, all of these things, that's something aligned with their passion that will have them feel good, will have them feel better in themselves. And then, also design it in a way where they can create more freedom, where they can create more of a lifestyle for themselves, where they can actually get paid more money working for themselves than working for a company. This is why we're seeing such a trend.
Yeah, I've learned recently, actually I was watching a video presentation by the founder of this organization called Ladies Who Launch. I can't remember her name right now, but I'll look it up and we'll include it in the show notes. But she was saying that women are actually starting businesses at twice the rate men are. And I think this is a reflection of this work paradigm that we found ourselves in that really doesn't serve us and causes us to not be true to who we are as feminine beings.
Yes. Yeah. And so when women can design their own businesses, they can address all of these concerns.
Do you feel that women run into specific types of gender-based obstacles on the path of entrepreneurship? So, for example, in the path of working in a corporate career, you see things that manifest like the glass ceiling. Not a lot of women are making it into the C-level, and it's part of the business culture. But as an entrepreneur, you're not in that environment. So do you see other types of obstacles that appear for women who are on the path of entrepreneurship?
Well, yes, I think there are different obstacles. I think, they're free of that particular obstacle of hitting the ceiling. But then when they're creating their own business, they're hitting their own ceiling. That's what I often see, is that women struggle with self-esteem, with questions of whether or not they're good enough. And a lot of that psychological stuff or emotional stuff will come up in the process of building your own business. When you're putting yourself out there, it just can bring up all your stuff. And so often women entrepreneurs will need a lot of support around their mindset and around really developing their confidence and finding their own internal resources and sense of, yes, I'm good enough for this. Yes, I can do this, to be able to successfully put themselves out there and market themselves.
Yeah, I think we have to also overcome decades of negative social programming. So a lot of those, negative messages are not individualized. They're from the messages that have been passed down to us across, our family lineage,
That's right.
If you come from a culture that doesn't value women, then you get a lot of the subliminal messaging that comes through family and community, but also, in society and advertising as well, that we're valued primarily for our youth and our looks and not less so for our intelligence. And you see that all over the place in advertisements and commercials and all that focus on women as objects of beauty and sexuality.
Absolutely. We have disempowering messages everywhere, and women really do internalize these. It's very real. It's very real. And so much of the work that I know I've been doing and so many of the women that I know have been doing is around dismantling a lot of this stuff. And, when we're in the journey of really finding ourselves and finding our true power and tapping into what it is we want to say in the world and what it is we want to give, all of those things are going to be up for review. We have to relinquish their grip on us. We have to let go and allow ourselves to step up and out. And I notice in particular, there's a big thing around like being seen and visibility and, putting your message out there and then having it being criticized in some way or, admonished in some way. A lot of women are really scared about that, are really scared of failure, scared of that, that what they do is not going to be deemed good enough. And they compare themselves a lot to other women, to other entrepreneurs who are a little ahead of them. And it can be really disempowering. And all of that is fed by these really disempowering messages that we've received really early in our lives that we're not valued for our innate intelligence. And so we distrust that innate intelligence. We distrust our innate intuition. We distrust our innate capacity and our natural ability to create. And so that's part of the work, is to really reestablish that trust.
I love that there was a TEDx event that was entirely focused on women. Can you tell me more about this TEDx event? It occurs every year in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, TEDx FIDI Women.
FIDI, what does FIDI stand for?
You know what? I'm not sure.
It's FIDI, Women.
That's right.
And that was founded by the creator of a nonprofit organization called Women Enough. That's also based in San Francisco. I think the founder's name is Michelle Fetch?
Michelle Fetch, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So tell me more about that event, and I'd love to hear how you were able to present there.
Yeah, well, actually, she invited me to be there as a musical contributor.
Awesome.
And so that was really sweet. And it was the first event was the one that I participated in and I attended, and it was really fabulous. There was some great speakers, people like Gabrielle Bernstein and Mama Gina and Casey Baker, I recall, and Alyssa Vitti, and some really amazing, women with visionary messages. And it just felt like such a galvanizing of forces, and a real celebration of the feminine voice.
So how do you recommend that upcoming women entrepreneurs get awesome press coverage? Because I noticed you were also featured in Origins magazine.
Yes, that was really wonderful. And that, in a way, came about because I have been making myself quite visible. I just have been, over time, I've been putting a lot of attention into my social media presence and really utilizing those platforms. And that's how I came onto the radar of Origin magazine. And I think efforts, in really making yourself visible on social media do create rewards. I've had clients come who found me through social media, and, people have asked me to be on telesummits and things like that who've seen me on social media. I think that does help. You just have to do it and just pick your medium. I've decided I would just focus really heavily on Facebook because that's just a medium I really like. I think it could drive you a little crazy trying to do all of them really well.
Definitely. Then you end up doing nothing really well.
Right, exactly. But I am having fun with Instagram and Pinterest and some of the more visual mediums as well. But I do think also women can create opportunities by reaching out and submitting themselves for a consideration, for an article or for a feature. I know there's some people who really do teach the media piece quite well. And in fact, I know that Gabrielle Burns is one person she has a course on that topic.
Oh, okay. I'll be sure to check it out, and we'll put the link in the show notes also.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. I'm very impressed by her. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of our interview time. I'd love to ask you to share with us, if there was, during your entrepreneurial journey, one big mistake that you made that really drained your time, energy, and money that you would do differently if you could turn back the clock. Could you share with us what that was so that we could learn from your mistakes and not fall into that same pitfall ourselves?
Yes. Oh gosh, where do I begin? I'll choose one, but there's definitely a few, and I think we all go through this.
Yeah.
When I was starting out, particularly when I was really trying to learn a lot of the, internet marketing stuff and really diving into some of the more entrepreneurial topics, I first just stayed really surface level. I would attend the free seminars and, calls and things like that, and, take down the free reports and things like that. And, because I didn't yet have a lot of budget to be able to invest in trainings. And yet, I think that I really could have cut my time down quite a bit if I had just really found the money to invest. If I had just really, if a number of years later, or not a number, but, maybe 1 or 2 years later, it's like I really got the message very loud and clear from a number of people. Like, you really do. It's important to invest in the right training. And you want to do that certainly with the right mentor as well. I think we all will go through a process of finding our right mentor. And sometimes we, will find the right for now mentor. And that's all good. It's all serving the journey. It's all serving where you're going. And definitely put some consideration and attention into the person that you want to train with, and really look at, do they have the kind of business that you really want? Do they have the kind of life that you want? I think it's actually a more important question. Are they actually modeling where you want to go? Because there's plenty of people out there who have, lots of models that they're teaching, and there's lots of information. I think this is part of where people can get tripped up, is we're given so many, programs to buy and things to choose from. And sometimes it's really hard to figure that out. And I think that is one of the most important things to look at is, really get clear on, where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself going? And is that person doing that? Because there's a lot of awesome people out there who are teaching really good stuff, but that just may not be the right stuff for you.
There's so many different ways to skin the internet marketing cat. So absolutely agree with you on picking the person who inspires you the most to work with and align with. That's really key. Otherwise, it's so easy to end up going from course to course, program to program, and then you're not really doing anything because you're getting confused because everyone, people teach it different ways. Like what works for one person, could be video marketing, but then somebody else is all about Facebook. And so then you find yourself trying to do video marketing and then Facebook, and then you're just going to go crazy and stretch yourself too thin. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I would say find the person that seems to know a complete end-to-end system that works for them, who is a person you would like to become one day, and then go from there for sure. So what do you think is the best and most effective way to change the world?
Well, I think one of the most effective ways is changing yourself. I think one of the most important places to look is at your own development, your own evolution, and really diving into unraveling and unpacking the places where you get the most locked up. And when you allow yourself to become more liberated, to become more free, to become more you, it really does have a powerful, powerful ripple effect, because you're bringing that into everything you create. You're modeling that for the people that see you and are surrounding you, and that ripples out. And secondly, I would say, I think this has really been at the foundation for me, at the root of Femvolution for me. Why I feel so passionate about this is that I do believe that the more that women are set free, the more that we can really live in a balanced society, the more that we can actually find peace, the more that we can actually experience partnership and collaboration, and really begin to experience that as a planet. When more women step into power and leadership, the more balanced decisions will be made, and more, considerations that consider humanity. And so that's why I've been so passionate about just helping women step up and step out.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was really inspiring. How can we best stay in touch with you?
Well, thanks so much, Lorna. And the best way to stay in touch with me, I have a website, which is femvolution.com. And I am going to be sharing, I'm actually really excited about the new development with this, because in addition to it featuring, my own writing and programs and things, I'm now now beginning to invite other women to contribute to that platform. I've become really passionate about just really sharing the amazing women that I find in my field and just really excited for where that's going. And then if you'd like to find out more about my music and hear that and come play with me that way, the best way to do that is at my website for my music, which is aliasounds.com. And that's ALIA sounds.com.
I've been really enjoying your playlists on SoundCloud.
Oh, great.
Really great to work to.
Oh, yay. So glad to hear that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Lorna. So appreciate it. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, folks, for listening to the Entrepreneurs for a Change podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more people with inspiring stories like this one by giving us a 5-star rating in iTunes. If this podcast inspires you to join the movement of change-making entrepreneurs, we'd love to give you a jumpstart with our free Business Changemakers Toolkit, which you can download at www.entrepreneursforachange.com/join. If you have a changemaker in mind you'd love for us to interview, go to entrepreneursforachange.com/suggest and tell us who and why. Finally, feel free to stop by facebook.com/entrepreneursforachange to share your thoughts and say hello.